Chat. Our friend, actually Tora, we did a fun thing for. Which if you guys are not following, you absolutely should. We made not only a tiger, but we made Tora. So chat, this is Solar. Chat. It's a tiny little tiger over here. Chat, look at that. Look at that little tiger. Thanks for posting there, see? Because now you can put all the emotes and everything, and it'll make sense. So chat, I sat here, and I did stitch out the face. I went and I borrowed my friend's machine because mine was actually busted. But I did take... Actually, I have extra fur and stuff, so I popped it over here onto the side, and I actually took some scissors and I made it shorter. Because I was trying to make it so that it would kind of match a little bit. I know that it kind of goes up, but in actuality, when you look at the nap of fur, it's actually going to naturally go down. So I just made it like a little poofy and stuff. So, what animals can you make? Have a Nina Tucker situation? I make tigers. I make dragons. I make bats. What else do I make? I made a unicorn before. I've made dinosaurs. I've made all kinds of stuff. So I try and do custom stuff as much as I can. But I hand put on all of these stripes. So if you guys look at the original pattern, which let me see if I could pull that up. Hold on. Let me see if I can put it over here. So the stripes are a little funky. So in actuality, what I did is I made it so it was a little bit more different. She does have one that was already kind of like a basic pattern. As you can see over here, I made sure to kind of edit it. So I took the actual pattern that was already existing. I took a ruler and I hand placed all of them. So those are all hand stitched on. And you can also kind of tell that there's a little stripe going down the back too. Did I take? Yeah, I did. So I took the one going down the back too. So it is a little wobbly and stuff. But I have that going, so it's actually covering the seam too. Because there's a seam up here, and there's actually a seam on the underside. So it was a little easier just to pop that on. So that's all hand stitched on. These ones I machine stitched on though. And I had to sit there, and oh my god, chat, do you know how crazy I am? Chat, I sat here and I counted all the rings on the fucking tail. Chat, I counted the rings on the goddamn tail so that I could get the tail perfect. I counted, I saw where it started, I saw exactly where it ended, and I put exactly as many as I could. So, while there is a tail that's already provided, I did technically make my own tail. But, and then I went through and I figured out how to do a satin stitch by hand on my machine. So, I've got, I made the little tiger ears that were already there. But I had to make out an extra one, and what I did was I cut out tiny little circles, and I made those as a pattern, and I had to, before I could put all this together, I did a satin stitch all the way around here with an extra piece of white that actually matches the colors that are on Tora's. So all of these colors here, I tried to reuse in Tora's plush too. Spoilers, I made Tora as well. But I went through and I did this specifically so that they would match, because they're actually similar colors if you take a look at their reference sheet. So I wanted it to be consistent. Wait, ignore that for now. Chat, I wanted it to be consistent. So this color here, this mango color, is going to be used again. This yellow color is used again. I thought it was perfect. So here's the finished pictures. Here's my professionals. Chat, look at that. Look how perfect. I was thinking about also doing the colors, like, of the eyes and everything, and, like, the orange that was actually on Solar. But I was thinking about it, and I'm like, I think it looks a little bit cuter if you do it this way, because then it's more apparent where the face is. and that like that's the point that you should be focusing on. Chat, look at that adorable tiger butt. Chat, look at those lines. Look at those perfect lines. So see, you can see the stitching line over here. So this actually stitches all the way up over through here. So I do like this stripe because it was actually able to cover everything too. So I just hand stitched that whole thing on. I'm annoyed with it, but I think it looks good. And look at the tail! Look at that! Chat, he's actually a lot bigger than you would think too, because you guys saw with my hand, like this is a hefty fuck. I do also have really tiny hands to be fair, but that is a hefty fuck. But chat, now for the exciting part. I also finished Tora. So let's go back from the beginning, because I have quite a few in progress pictures. So here's completely together. Now chat, this is a doll. Don't turn me in. So you'll kind of notice I've got a little bit of the in progress over here. So I do have the shoes over here. These ones are actually like built in. So this is actually part of the pattern. I'll also post the pattern for that one. Give me a second. Now, the tiger, chat, if you remember with Solar, I went through and I made sure that the exact circle that I cut out for the back of the tiger ears is the exact same one for Tora. So, albeit Tora has smaller ears than she actually normally would in her reference, I took the exact same pattern so that those two could match. You may be asking yourself, am I crazy? And the question is yes. So these ears actually match. These are actually the same exact ones. And the same exact circles. So the exact same pattern that I did over here is the exact same one over here. So as you can see, Toras are also hand stitched on. So I did do that with the embroidery machine. Now, I also realized that I could do like eyebrows and stuff. Now this is also... Chat, if you remember from before, the last time that I did this, chat, I used button eyes. Now, the same exact seller who makes this pattern actually has eyes too. Now, I was doing some, like, placing and figuring out. Now, she recommended this size. Eb and I both think that maybe we should make the size bigger for a little bit longer for any other future ones. But I think the eyebrows and stuff were perfect. So I'm actually quite happy with how it came out. I don't really like the whites underneath, but I think that's just the way that the stitch pattern came out. But I think it just looks cute, just in general. So we've got the shoes exactly like this. There's also little backings on the back of the shoes. I hand put those on. So, but I was able to make them two-tone. I realized that after the fact, this was actually the second variation of the shoe because I absolutely put the bottom as red the first time. You know how sometimes sneakers have that different color that's at the bottom? I tried to emulate that. I also did that for false, actually, if you guys remember. If we go back and look at falses. Hold on, where's false? Oh, and I did that for Astro as well. I try to do that where I try and put their bottoms as a different color for their sneakers because I think that's cute. I don't know why, something about it. I just think it's really cute. So chat, no longer do I have to sit here and hand embroider a mouth. As cute as it is, getting to hand embroider it, I kind of like just having the embroidery machine do it because everybody's going to look the same. So I made this little guy, right? And my friend in Russia, he like, bless her, was like, oh my god, that's such a perfect picture. You know what would make it even better? And I was like, why would you do such a thing? Why would you do such a thing? So no, this is this is just. So this is one of my dinosaurs that I made previously. Look at how cute he is. Like. But no, there's eyelashes that come out with this stitching, which I think is fun. But so that was the initial bit. And we sat here and we kind of debated for a while because on Tora's reference sheet, Tora's actually got a little scar on the side of the neck. Now the problem is that it's actually a lighter color than the skin tone in the reference. So when I was trying to do it, you could actually kind of see it here. How long did the dinosaur take? Maybe like 2 days, not that long. These ones are a lot more intensive. You could also see there's actually like a boob pattern. I actually hand drafted that. There actually isn't one as part of that pattern. So if you guys are making it, I'm sorry, the pattern, at least that part, that's edited by me. But I was like, I'm not going to be able to see that, so I didn't really like that. So instead, we swapped it out, and I picked a different color. And we ended up putting that instead. I thought that that looked a hell of a lot better. So, albeit it's going to be under the clothing, I tried to make everything to scale as much as possible. Now, we saw when I did this with Astro 2, I specifically made her plug suit exactly as how you see it in her reference. Because I'm absolutely nuts, and I know that I would have sat there and I would have kicked myself being like, why didn't I do that? So we have the scar there. It's going to be a little bit darker than it actually should be, but I still think that it works out in its own way. And I also sat here, chat, and when you look at Tora's actual reference, which do I have? Hold on. Let me see. Ab, do you have that reference? Because I think I deleted it. Oh, thank you. Thank you for resending it. Thank you. Appreciate it. You're the best. So here we go, chat. So this is what I was talking about by the reference that Eb had sent me. So this is actually Tora's reference that I was using. So I saw this and I was like, okay, Tora was specific enough to put all of the stripes. And I was like, if it's specific enough, I have to do it. You have to. Oh, and you can also see, you can see the little neck scar over here. So we were like, we have to include that. We had to. I had to. It was too cute. But I sat here and I was like, okay, I'm gonna have to do it, chat. I'm gonna have to. Chat, I sat here, and all of this purple that you see here at the bottom, that's actually a, you see you're insisting on it. Oh no, I already had that. I already had that on my list of things to do. So you could take, it's a temporary pen, and it's a water-based pen, so it's not gonna hurt the plush or anything like that. So what I do is I take this water-based pen and I hand drew out all of the fucking stripes as best as I could. As specifically as I could. As you can see, I've got like the little divots and everything. I have the fact that there's this little hook right over here. I tried to count out as many of these spots as possible. I've got all these extra bits. You could see where it actually continues down, where I probably would have stopped about here, that I finally just gave up. And I was like, nobody else is going to see this except for me and Ab and everybody that looks at this picture. Chad, I sat here and I counted all of it. I put it all up and down the arms too, so you could actually kind of see it over here. It actually matches in every way. I counted all the stripes all the way up and down the arm. But, oh, and then here you can kind of see some pictures of Solar over here too. See, I sat here and I counted. I counted, chat. I counted the little stripes on the fucking... I counted. I sat here this whole time. And I did all of it. Oh, see, because she even pointed out the scar. I was like, I have to include it. I have to. The only thing that I didn't include was the fang, unfortunately. The stitching pattern thing that I have doesn't have fangs to it. So what I think I might do is I might have to hand embroider those a little bit later whenever I go to do more of these and stuff. But... so that's at least those in progress pictures. I'll keep Tora back here too. But then I started working from there, and I went straight to clothing because I always feel like that's a little bit easier to do before the hair is. So then we got Egghead here. We got Tora here. So I got a shirt from the local Goodwill, so from the thrift store. I tried to get as close to the color as possible. It's a little darker than I think I would have liked. We does your emote not work? Why does it not work? I know you had it. Oh, it's a tier 2 emote. Got it, got it. But I went and got a shirt, and as you could see, this sucks. I'm gonna say this right now. I took the shirt and I purposely sat here and I made a pattern of the shirt. So I did all of that through here. And this is actually the original stitching that's at the bottom. You can actually see. So I got like a regular like collared shirt. I got all of the stitching and stuff. All of this is already like exactly what was on the shirt. And I purposely placed all of the little pattern pieces so that I could use that again instead of having to hand hem it. Because I thought that it was going to look a little bit nicer if I kept it like that. So I did all of that through there. This is actually sewn up all the way up the front just so that I can make sure I could get it on and off. You can't see it because it's actually perfectly covered by the tie. So we did that. I made the little armbands over here. And as you can see, there is actually this nice collar. So this is actually when you go to do like a button shirt, that spot where you go to do your buttons, this is actually that piece. So I picked that apart and I took all of that. So, and wash it with red. Oh, that would have been smarter. That would have been a lot smarter. But, yeah, I did all of that, chat. And I was quite happy with it. I thought it looked really nice. But I did all of this, and this is actually a 4-way stretch fabric, and you'll see why I did this. But I put all this together, so as you can see, you can't see the scar anymore, which I'm a little upset about. But yeah, I thought it was fun. So I did all of that bit, and then from there, I thought it was going to be easier. The reason that I have this 4-way stretch, you can also see where the stripes are and the little pieces that I made. I did clean this up afterwards. You can actually see the harness too. The reason that it's a 4-way stretch is I can actually use that to make gloves and things too. So like we saw with the last set that I had done, I went through, and this is actually easier to pull over the doll itself because they're so funkily like put together and stuff. So I sat here and I put together these little gloves and things, and we got all of the stuff, and I make it slightly smaller so that it'll actually fit on the doll. So I take the existing pattern, I chopped off the bottom of it, I made a little glove pattern. And for Tora's, if you actually notice, oh, I closed out the wrong one. Damn it. Wait, did I? No, I didn't. If you notice, hers actually dips down. So what I did was I had to sit there and I carved it out, actually. I made it as a regular glove pattern, and then I just cut it all the way down. And then I fray check the edges. So it'll still stretch. They fall off a lot as a result, but they're kind of removable and stuff, so I think that's fun. So, are you gonna send a plushie along with the package? Oh god. I don't know if I could do that. Oh god. These are extensive. I started working on Tora, I want to say halfway through July, and I finished 3 days before October. Like that's about a month and a half, including waiting for everything. It took me a while. So, I mean, I'd love to, but it's a lot. Because then I made the jeans after that. Now, chat, this is actually a pair of children's jeans, too. Is it possible to stream it? I don't know if people would like it. I'm gonna be honest. Yeah, we were planning around March. And actually, I had one person reach out, and I'm gonna be making 3 more. But I'm not starting them until January, because I have to make a quilt before that. I've already got a lot. And those ones are gifts too, so that's also part of the problem. I'd love to be able to stream them. And I talked about this last time when you guys were asking about some of the pictures of some of the stuff I was doing. We just saw what somebody was able to do with our server. You guys are gonna spoil it. You guys are gonna spoil it. But no, I made jeans, and as you could tell, actually, with Tora's jeans, they have little rips and stuff on them. So I did go through... It's just seamstressing. Oh, God. But I went through and I hand ripped all of these and everything. And you can actually see, chat, I'm insane. I sat here and I hand counted and I measured so that it would actually look like a pair of jeans. I have a false seam actually on the outside I'll be able to point out later. And I have a double seam over here as if it was actually like a pair of jeans. So I did the first set and then I did a little set inside. I've got the set going up the side. Now this is actually separate from the actual seam for the doll. This one is actually a false one. And I made an actual like waistband too. So this is actually separate from the rest. So you can actually see it's slightly different. I also hand sewed in the appearance of pockets. Because, listen, very specific. Chat, there's pockets. Chat, there's pockets. I wanted pockets. You can vaguely see it here. Don't worry, there's better pictures of it, chat. I wanted all of it to be as close as possible. You can also kind of see how I did that with the gloves, where I kind of shaved it down. Chat, I think I'm insane. I think I pay too much attention to detail. From their chat, I actually started working on the harness, so you can actually see better pictures of it. So this was that piece that I added about the time that I was doing for the t-shirt. Now, oh yeah, you could see the waistband here too. And you could see how everything is all pieced together from the same pair of jeans. So there's going to be like some dye variations that don't match, but it is perfection. It's literally perfectionism. And that's part of my problem. That's why it takes me so long, because I sit here and everything has to be perfect. Chat, I sat here. I wish I was joking. I made a tube of fabric and I sat here and I hand measured as much of the spines as I could. Chat, I hand measured as many of the spines for the harness as I could. Because the whole point is this is a whole harness piece, and it's supposed to mimic, like, you know, like a spine. And I sat here, and I looked at it, and I went, I wonder how many of those I could fit. And I sat here, and I went, I know that that goes over the pants, and originally I was waiting for a belt, and you'll see why I was waiting for the belt later, because I was a little bit annoyed about this one, but it all worked out in the end. But I sat here and I measured it. These are all even. I took the sizing that I could from my actual foot that I was using to sew. I tried to make as many as I could. I don't think there's enough. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 was all I could fit. I know there's definitely more than that. That was the most that I could fit before you were going to lose the definition, because there was just going to be too many, because otherwise I would have had to have cut that in half. And it kind of looked more like a gummy worm, because I tested it. It looked like a fucking gummy worm. So I said this is going to be the best that I could do. I also took, these are actual pieces that are, I know they're irregular. I know they are. But the way that it's going to come out when you're stuffing it, it's going to look naturally irregular already. So, anyway, then I sat here and when I needed to try and get the front pieces too. So what was actually easier was to take regular pieces, and when I cut them out, they were actually going down, like the actual claw bits that she has. As you can see, they do go down. I know this is all supposed to be one piece, but I just sewed it on top. It's fine. It's fine. It's separate from the shirt anyway. But I did draw it to the front, and what this is actually like sewed to her. You can also see all of my stitching where I faked all of the little stuff that I could on the jeans. Here's the fly. I really tried, chat. You can see all the rips too. But this is actually sewn not only through the shirt, but also to her. So it's going to give some extra added stability to the shirt itself. Also, these little buttons are from the shirt that I stole. The little gray, the little purple one. This is the actual buttons that were there. I tried to use as much of the shirt as I could. I really tried, because you wouldn't even notice. There's tiny little buttons here, if you notice. on the size. I couldn't get it that small. And I was half debating it doing like Astro, where we did the little tiny baubles and I would paint them. But I thought that it would actually be a nice touch to take the buttons that were from the original shirt. So this is the original purple, like, button-up shirt with a collar. Then after that, came the hair. And chat, if I don't use paper, what I end up using is paper towel. So I've talked about this before, but if you're ever into making something with fabric and you don't have like the drafting paper or anything like that, paper towel actually mimics the way that fabric would lay. So this is all paper towel. I sat here, I hand put everything out. This is actually the same paper towel. It's actually a 2-ply, so I just ripped it apart and put it on the other side so that I could take a look at everything. So these are all my separate pieces. So we have that tiny little, if you notice, there's like a little piece of hair sticking up. So I've got that, so that's there. And this all goes down. You could see where I was putting where the way that the fabric itself would lay. So I can make sure that it's gonna like drag itself down and all of the nap was gonna go down. The bangs are separate. This side piece is separate. You can't see it now, but there's actually a side piece over here that I kind of needed to cover underneath where the ears are. That's another separate piece. There's one on either side, and there's 2 in the back. So I hand sat there and patterned out all of it. Okay, let's see if I could pull up both of these, chat, and not fuck it up. Let's see if I could do that. Aha! Aha! Close! Close! Done. So we got the front piece here. So that's separate. That's this little bit over here. You can see I kind of fudged it a little bit. I probably should have added another piece over here for this little bit that kind of frames the face. But you can see where it kind of moves in on either side. I thought it was going to be easier just to like shove that in, which it did because I was actually able to use that to anchor it to the face a little bit better. So it was the perfect way to do it. And then we've got this little set of bang. That's what I was talking about. So if I would have made this all one set, I feel like I wouldn't have gotten enough definition over here. So this is a separate piece over here, and it actually tucks underneath of this front drill. And then I've got this bit, which is the actual bang. I tried to have it go over and side swipe this way as much as I could, but because it's fabric, it just kind of naturally wants to go down with gravity. So I just tried to sew it as best I could and just leave it as is. Because you're going to get a lot of that side swipe action from this extra little piece over here. So there you go, chat. Paper towels. Paper towels once again save the day. I say this every goddamn time. And then here we've got where, as you can see, I was watching... I just kept watching Dave the Diver for hours. I just kept sitting through the playlist. I don't know why. I also took a day at one point where I just sat there and I just played Dave the Diver because I just felt like it. I just really wanted to play Dave. So you can also kind of see when I was doing the set over here, I was marking exactly where I was going to get the two-toned. I was debating it for a while as just to make it one color, but I wanted to try something a little bit different. As we saw last time when I did the two-tone, I kind of marked it together, which was nice. I thought that it was going to be better if I was to sew it together directly instead of creating that little wavy pattern so it kind of looks like it's an ombre. I think I kind of like the other way better. I tried something. I didn't like it as much. I still think it looks good. I think it just isn't as natural, but now it just kind of looks like it's a little bit more dyed, like it's actually lighter, like you would with like somebody with blonde hair. So I think it looks good. I just think I like the other way better. However, I did add texture because when you notice at the reference, it's very specific that like these are curling in on itself. And I'm not very good at the curls yet. So I thought it would be fun if I tried it like this. And I actually really like how it turned out. Even though it's not like curled around itself because it's kind of hard to do so with this, it looks kind of funky. I've seen some people that have attempted to do curls, especially on like My Little Ponies and stuff like that. It doesn't really look out. It doesn't really come out that well, that I think. So I think this actually is a little bit better. So I stick with that. instead. And instead I like these little back pieces and stuff. When you look at the back, it actually looks pretty good from the way that I did it. But yeah, you could see this is separate pieces. So that's how I got a little bit of this. So as you can see, those extra pieces, I ended up tacking those so they would actually frame the face a little bit more. But I put the little pieces together, so by doing this, it's able to frame the face a little bit better. So it is actually tacked to the doll this way. So now if you were to stick your hand underneath, like, you're not going to be able to pull up pieces of the hair or anything like that. You can also see all of my thread over here. Like, when I say I got a lot of colors, I got a lot, chat. I know it covers it, but actually when you look all the way back, her head's a little bit misshapen when I went to go and do this little part. So that's why I like doing the hair like this. I know a lot of people will do the hair where it's a single piece and then they like trim the sides and that's it. I like it better when it's the 2 bits because not only does it make it fluffier and softer, but I feel like it covers a lot more construction mistakes that I make, especially in heads. I'm not really good at the circle bits. I don't know why. I keep trying. I've definitely gotten better, but I like the fact that I'm able to cover up a lot of that. But see, as you could see, now I've actually got that so it actually swipes underneath that little bit, just like it does in her reference. See, chat, I tried to pull out every trick that I possibly could. Now, you may think she's done. However, she wasn't. I then had to work on the belt. And I know I sent a picture. Do I not have it? Okay, this is better. So I sat here and I took some of the extra fabric. I tried not to make the belt too detailed with like adding the holes and everything like that. I thought that was going to be too much. But I had one of my friends go through and he 3D printed me a paw print. And I sat here, I trimmed it because it had like a little square background. You guys could find it on Thingiverse if you're looking for it. I cut off all the extra bits. I sanded this down. I borrowed my roommate's like miniature models for Warhammer and stuff, like his little tools and stuff. Hand carved it all down. Filled all of it in exactly like how it should be. It's pretty close. It's the paw print that's the sub badge. So I want it to be almost as exact as possible. So it's a little dark back there. I probably should have done a little bit more of a gold, but I think in comparison to everything else, especially because it's supposed to be a similar color to the harness, I think that this is probably better because then it's a little bit darker versus a little bit lighter. So you're not drawing as much attention to it. And instead you're getting drawn towards the hair and stuff instead of like the tie or something like that. So then that was the last bit. It took a while for that to get done because he kept printing out things that were like 3 times this size. And I was like, dude, this is the size of the eyeball. I was like, I just need something that's like 3 to 5 millimeters. He's like, okay. So he prints out 8 millimeters. I'm like, are you serious? So I think what I want to try and do is get one of those 3D prints and instead put it onto parchment and then just hand draw it from now on. I think for projects such as this, I think it'd be better. But here's some of the final pictures. So this is before they got all cleaned up. So as you can see, it's the same color. I did that on purpose, trying to make them both the same. And the ears are the same. I just made Tora's go a little bit to the side. So as you can see, here's the size of my sewing machine versus her. So she's pretty hefty. Oh, and then I added the tail. So this is the same thing. So that purple is actually the purple that matches as close as I could to here. And this is the purple that's here. And this is the orange that matches here and here. So they're all matching. They all work together. So this is the back bit. See, this is what I was saying. Like, I kind of like it for these smaller pieces where I didn't have to do too much because it kind of looks like, you know, like an actual strand of hair. But I feel like the bigger pieces, I feel like you kind of need that little bit of a satin stitch. But yeah, no, they match. This is all the exact colors and everything. So you could still see all of the little tiny details and stuff between all of them. And even he's pretty large. She's much bigger. Oh boy, is she much bigger. Oh, and you can see my serger back here. And then that's my embroidery machine. This is my regular machine. And then I've got another machine, actually a fourth one up here in my closet too. So, chat, that's Tora. Let me pull up her proper pictures. So here's her in the light box, so you can see all the colors a little bit better. So she's already bagged up, and I've already got a box for her, so I'm gonna start packing her this weekend. So I'm not pulling her back out and changing anything, chat. I'm not doing it. But it looks really good. It definitely was a large project. It definitely took a while. You could see even just from the side, just like how tall she is. These use a lot of materials, but I think they're so much fun. And I kind of like her tail too. I was debating putting wire in there, but I think leaving it like this is kind of like a natural kickstand to it, I suppose. And that kickstand will actually keep her so she could keep sitting, because a lot of the times these guys are a little bit too top heavy. Sometimes what people will do is they'll put like beans and beads and stuff on the bottom. I don't like the feeling of it. And especially for gifts and stuff like that, I can't ask the person like, hey, can I weight it? So I kind of just have to go based off of, somebody is probably like me and they probably don't want it to be weighted. So in actuality, it's just all stuffing. So the head gets too top heavy, so they'll just kind of flop. Yeah, there's the ears. You could see the ears and everywhere that I stitched. You could see a little bit more of the details back here. So yeah, this is the exact same colors that Solar is between these two pieces, which I think is perfect. So we've got our little, you know, paw pad over here. I've got a close-up over here of the arm and how it came. I actually did end up trimming that down a little bit more, so it actually dips more. This does fall off a lot, but you can kind of see where it is falling off already. But you can always put it back on. Tail. So that's sewn through the jeans. That hurt. That's sewn through the jeans and attached to the body too. But yeah. Chat, here's both of them. They are large. They barely fit in the goddamn light box. And I mean, this is a pretty big standard light box. They can't even fit against this background. Chat, I think they're really cute. So there you go, chat. That's my show and tell. See, I knew it was only going to take about an hour. So chat, that works for me. So this was a dual project. Eb is doing some work for me. And this is a gift from both of us. So Tora's already seen it. But yeah, chat. There you go. So that's what I've been doing. So I now just got an order for 3 more of these. I'm not starting those until January, however, because I do have to make a quilt before that. So chat, these are some of the things that I do. And chat, I'll go over some more of the stuff whenever I go to make the bat on Saturday. So chat, if you got questions and stuff like that, absolutely 100% write them down. Chat, take note. Note it down. Chat, do Kyuu note. Do your notes. Chat, I'll answer as many questions as I can based off of my very limited knowledge. But I think it's a good pattern. I think it's really cute. I think it definitely works. I think I like doing this for different VTube models, but holy shit, there are some models that are just really difficult. But Tora's was relatively easy. It was just trying to get every single detail as right as possible. Because I think the devil's in the details, and even if it's something that I'm not gonna see, even if it's something as small as adding in every single one of the stripes, I'm gonna know, and it's gonna kill me internally, but it's also gonna make me happy too. Because I'm like, yes, I did it, chat. I did it. I did the thing. I did all of it. So there you go, chat. And you know what? I was very happy when it was done. I was very happy. I don't think there's anything that I would change besides that little bit of the hair with the texture type of thing. And even then, I think I probably would have still just been like, you know what? I tried something new. I still think it looks good. I don't like it, but I still think it looks good. So, there you go, chat. That was my show and tell of what I've been doing for the past, like, 2 months. And then my sewing list was complete. And then somebody messaged me and goes, hey, can you make me 6 of them? And I'm like, God damn it. So now my sewing list is no longer complete. Now I've got to do that. And then somebody else hit me up for a bat. So now I'm like, okay, well now I got to make that bat. Now I got to make 3 more of these. We get to make our chat bat. And I get to make a quilt. So chat, my sewing list still continues. So that's what I do in my off time when you guys don't see me on stream. So, chat, this is my break month from sewing. So that we could do the Spooktacular Streamathon. But, chat, we're going to be making... here, I'll show you in proximity just how large this fucking bat is. Chat, we're going to be making a bat. It's going to be you. Chat, it's going to be you, the collective. So you guys are going to be able to pick a whole bunch of different colors. And it's going to be great. Because even if you could see, like, we have, like, this green inside. This is Kelly green. We've got, like, a banana inside. We've got, like, a blue body and all kinds of stuff. Kind of. So I would, but the thing is that this entire back piece from here to here is actually 1 bit. So this whole thing wraps around. So I can't just make another wing because it's literally the body. It's literally the wing, the body, and then this other wing all attached. So it's giant. I do have this though, chat. Chat, it's Tato. Tato has 1 wing. Tato has 1 wing. If I was a little bit better at sewing, I'd say absolutely I would like pattern out an extra wing. But look, it's Tato. See, I gave him little fangs and stuff. He's cute. Okay, so yeah, now you could see. So this whole piece goes from here to here. So what you do is you actually do what's called stitching in the ditch, and what you do is you have to stitch this body closed. So this is all 1 long continuous piece. And what that does is that actually helps to make this little butt piece. And then you fill this whole thing with pellets over here. So that's what I was talking about. So they're weighted. So then they kind of sit a little bit better. See? Here's a little guy. He's got a little charm. It was a hot cocoa bat I made a couple of years ago. You can see he's kind of a mess because I actually hand sewed this entire guy. So this goes from all the way from here to here. And then you sew that literally here on either side where this other color is. So you can always kind of tell where it is. And that's how you make the body versus the wings. And then you sew this down. So don't worry, chat. You guys will see all of it. You guys will see all of it. But look, he's so cute. I liked this one. I really, really liked this one. Here, you can kind of see the size of these ones. So this is like perfect hand size. Usually when people contact me and they tell me they want something, that usually means that it's going to be a big giant project. Without fail, I always know that it's going to be a big giant project. 100% a big giant one. So now I've made False. I've made Rika. We made Lacuna. I made Astro. I made Bree. I made Amaya. And we made Rhea. And now the newest one to get added is Tora. Now, Solar, though, I'm a little bit better than I am with animals and stuff like that. So I'm usually a lot better with doing that. For Christmas, I made our friend Vaughn as a pigeon. So that's how that happened. He had actually reached out to me at one point. He said, hey, how much would it be to commission you? And I said, absolutely not. I said, maybe at some point. And instead I secretly went and did so. So one of his VTuber artists had done a reference sheet, and I thought it would be fun if I did the same exact thing, but as an actual pigeon. And so I gifted it to him. And at the time, because Vaughn and Snooze are 2 friends of mine that I've had for many, many years, actually going on 11 or 12 years now for both of them. So I went, you know what, I want to do something for the both of them for Christmas. So I did. I made tiny little Snooze. Because at the time, Snooze was actually going back and forth between America and the UK, and I was like, hey, you know, I was thinking about it, and I was like, I know that he's not going to be able to take a whole bunch of big giant things back and forth, so I made a tiny little baby Snoo, so that's how this all happened. So this was one of my very first prototypes, so a couple of these pieces are actually sewn on, a couple of them are actually glued on. No, that's a full body. Like, that's actually a whole thing. As you can see, like, it's a whole piece. I hand stitch all of this. Because this was actually a totally different pattern that I was trying out. And I was like, hey, you know, I'm going to be experimenting. And he was like, cool. So I hand stitched all of these little details and stuff from his regular model and everything. You can see it here. I did it as close as I could. This was back when he was putting his schedule up. So this is actually Bree, the one that we saw a doll of. This is actually her art, and so I was using that as my basis. So, he just looked like a gingerbread, doesn't he? So, he was the first time that I ever patterned out hair and stuff. So I was actually going to make each and every individual strand. And that's when I figured out it was going to be easier to do everybody in sections like I did with Tora and stuff. You could actually see all of the individual little pieces that I was going to do out of the paper towel. This was the first time that I was ever hand patterning something. So I learned, but I was always much better with animals. If you couldn't tell, I'm really good at like pigeons and tigers and dinosaurs and even just regular birds, just normal. I don't know why this one has motion. But you could see, even in comparison to this pen, just how big these guys are. Because I did that with the Eevee. I figured out how big I can make this life-size Eevee versus my water bottle. That's And you can see this is when I was updating my graphics card, so this was our pile to donate of just extra stuff that we were trying to get rid of. It's always fun to look in the background of all of my stuff where I could just be like, I remember that era. I remember when I went through a whole thing where I was like, we're getting rid of this and this and this and this. But yeah, no, chat, that's what I do. It's always tons of fun. So Tora's done. I'm going to be making 3 more. I can't say who they are because it is a surprise. And chat, we gotta be cool. But sometimes you guys are bitches. And sometimes you guys will go and tell the person and then you ruin the surprise, and that's not very nice. Not often. Sometimes you guys are just excited. I understand. But sometimes it takes me a while to do such a thing, chat. Sometimes this process takes a while. And on top of me streaming too, so I usually get maybe nights and sometimes weekends, and even then it's always around like whether or not I have something else that I have to do. So my time spent sewing is a lot less than it used to be. So my speed is not up to what it should be. So, but hey, sometimes I get to make fun things. Like people hit me up and they're like, hey, can you make a life-size Eevee? And I'm like, sure.